readers, welcome to Novels with Nat. Today we are talking all things horror books. Alright, so I thought that since we are in the middle of October, I thought it would be a good time to film a video all about horror books. It is that time of year. I think a lot of people are gravitating towards spooky reads, horror, thriller, mystery, all of that. And so I wanted to film a video to talk about it. My plan for this video is first I want to go through this list that Goodreads has released, which is they've given recommendations of horror books for the last 10 years. So for each year in the last decade, they give, I think, 8 recommendations. I'm not sure how they came up with this list, whether it was probably, I'm guessing, a combination between um, popularity, maybe ratings, as well as their people that work at Goodreads, their suggestions. So we're going to go 1 year at a time through and see what I've read, what's on my TBR. And again, let me know if any book from this list you think I should definitely read. Let me know in the comments. And then after that, I'm going to head to my shelves and go through my physical TBR and see what horror books I have on there. My TBR is a mess. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't have any kind of organization or thought behind it. Just whenever I buy a book, I shove it in wherever I can find space. And that is not very efficient in terms of understanding what I have and where things are. So I want to go through, and I think I'm just going to pull out all of the horror books on my physical TBR and just leave them kind of a couple inches like farther out than the rest of the books, so that I can remember what I have for the next couple of weeks, as I'm going to definitely want to be prioritizing horror books. So we'll do that afterwards. So just a little bit about me as a reader first. My primary genre that I tend to read the most of is mysteries and thrillers. After that, I would say it's a pretty even split between sci-fi, literary fiction, horror, and nonfiction. Um, so I am trying to get more into horror specifically because I have been reading a lot of books that I thought were mysteries and thrillers, but then when I look on Goodreads or look into it further, they actually turn out to be horror books, and I just didn't know that they were horror books. So I think I do like the horror genre more than I maybe thought I did. I just have to find that specific niche or area that I enjoy. What I know so far that I'm really liking is I always have loved a haunted house story. Any kind of haunted house horror I love. That's one of my favorite tropes. I also really like a campy comedic horror. Grady Hendrix is a good example. I've enjoyed his books, a couple of them. And so we're going to talk about him a little bit more too as well. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to experiment. I know what I don't like, which is I don't like anything super gory. I don't like anything that has to do with like torture, animal cruelty, anything like that. Absolutely not. Nothing too intensely dark or scary, if that makes sense. I also think that it's a bit of a strange thing. I think with thrillers, I prefer just to have like standard reality, like domestic thrillers, things like that. But when it comes to horror, I think I prefer paranormal horror. I don't know why. I think that when it's paranormal, it feels less scary to me because it feels less grounded in reality. Um, and so maybe that helps me with the scary, spooky factor, but I really like paranormal horror as well. So that's a bit about me and my reading journey with horror. Trying to get more into it, trying to get more ideas. So I thought this video would be fun to maybe get some recommendations from this Goodreads list as well as from you guys. And so I'm going to use this as a little bit of motivation to look through my shelves, but then also to understand what I want to pick up because I'm going to be going to my public library this weekend. So I definitely want to go with a list in mind of what I'm going to be looking for. So enough talking, let's get to the books. All right, so I've got the list open on my computer ahead of me. So let's start with 2025 and then work our way backwards. First on this list, we have a Grady Hendrix. This one, unfortunately, I did DNF. It is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I started reading it because the premise sounded so good. It's about a group of teenage pregnant mothers who are sent away to an institution, and they sort of get involved in witchcraft. And I thought that sounded so good, but I just couldn't get into it. It just felt, I don't know, I just felt disconnected from the story and the characters, and I just wasn't interested. So I ended up DNFing that one pretty far through. I think I made it around 45%. And it's a pretty long book. So I was really sad that I didn't love it because I'm obsessed with the cover. That is so cool. Like the lava lamp. I was like a 90s kid, so I just love that. And I was really disappointed that I didn't love this one because the first Grady Hendrix book that I read, How to Sell a Haunted House, was one of my favorites. I love that book. It was so fun. It was campy horror, haunted house, amazing. So I was really disappointed, but I didn't love that one. Um, Other books on this list, of course, we have Stephen King, Never Flinch. I think that's his newest release. I have too much Stephen King on my TBR, so I'm not going to be looking into adding any more. Other than that, I'm not seeing any other books that I have really heard of in too much detail. Um, yeah, so let's just move along to 2024, where I have read two books from this year. The first is We Used to Live Here. That book I did enjoy. I gave it 3.5 stars, somewhere between 3.5 and 4. I really enjoyed the experience reading this book. It was super eerie, kind of felt like a haunted house story. I was just so like locked in when I was reading this book. I will say I hated the ending. It felt like a cop out. It felt lazy. I just did not like it at all. So that's why I kind of landed somewhere in the middle. It was like 3.5 stars, 4 stars maybe. Um, but I would recommend it. I also read Incidents Around the House, which I hated. It was so bad. I know this book is either people either love it or hate it. I hated it. It was cheesy. It was like a creepy kid kind of trope, and the audiobook was so cringy. I just couldn't do it. It was like over the top cheesy. I hated it. So I gave that one 2 stars. Honestly, that was a bit generous, probably like 1.5. Would not recommend that one. Other than that, I'm seeing Stephen King, You Like It Darker. I think this is a short story collection, so I'm not too interested in his short stories. The Eyes Are the Best Part, I have heard about. This one I've heard people enjoy, but I just don't think it's for me. I think it's about a person who starts to like want to eat eyeballs or gets obsessed with eyeballs, something along those lines. I know that that is just going to be too gory for me, and I'm going to get nauseous, and it's not going to be good. So I do not want to read that book. Um, but the cover is pretty cool, I do have to say. And then Chuck Tingle, Bury Your Gaze. This one is on my TBR. Again, cover is so good. I do have to say, I think horror is the genre. Horror and literary fiction, I feel like, have the best covers. I think thriller covers are not very good because they all are the same. They're all just kind of like a variation of like a blue cover with black and maybe a little bit of red, a spooky font, like a neighborhood with some trees, something like that. They all just kind of seem like variations of the same thing. But horror, I feel like all the covers are so unique. So I really, maybe for like superficial reasons, want to get more into horror because I think the covers are so nice, but I'm just kidding. I do want to read it because I'm interested in it. Um, Other than that, I'm seeing, I have heard of these two, My Darling Dreadful Thing and Diabola, I think it's pronounced. Um, I don't know anything about them though. I've just heard of them. So I'm probably not going to add those to my TBR. They do seem kind of scary. Um, just based on the cover alone. Those are horrifying covers. Uh, yeah. Let me know if you've read them, what your thoughts were. Moving along to 2023, I have read one book from this list. We talked about it a little bit already. It is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Loved this book. It was campy horror. It was comedic, but it was also scary. There were scenes that had my jaw on the floor. I will say, I don't know if everyone would love this book. It does have like puppets going on in the story. So some people I've heard found it kind of cheesy and ridiculous, but I love that about it for some reason. I don't know. I just had a really good time with that book. Um, Other books, there's a lot on my TBR actually on this year. The September House. This one I think is a book about a house where every year in September the walls bleed. Um, so this one I have massive regrets about actually because I did find a copy of this at a thrift store for like $2 about a year ago, and I left it. I didn't end up grabbing it, but now I regret it because now it's on my TBR, and I wish I had picked it up for $2. But we will try it from our library. Um, then I'm also seeing The Reformatory. This is, I think, historical literary horror. It's very long also, so that's why I haven't picked it up yet, but I would like to read it eventually. Again, cover is stunning. Um, Stephen King, Holly. This is a case of I fell down a bit of a Stephen King rabbit hole and I got confused. I picked this book up, but then I realized that you actually have to read like 5 books, I think it is, before you can read this one. So there's like the Bill Hodges trilogy, and then you have to read like The Outsider, If It Bleeds, and then you can read Holly, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, so yeah, I kind of got myself in a situation, and now the only way out is to read my way through, kind of thing. So slowly but surely I will do it, but not going to get to Holly anytime soon. And then lastly, from this year, we have Monstrulio, which is on my physical TBR. This one I think is about, it deals with themes of grief. So it's about like a family who loses one of their family members and then they end up taking a piece of their lung and it sort of grows into this creature, Monstrulio. Um, Sounded interesting. Hopefully, it's not gory, but I'm going to be trying it for sure. Okay, 2022. I've read one book, which was Hidden Pictures, which I did enjoy. Um, I had a good time with this one. I think I gave it like 4 or 5 stars, honestly. I didn't have any major complaints. Other than that, Jennifer McMahon, The Children on the Hill, is on my physical TBR. I think, again, this is historical horror. Um, I'm excited to get to that. I'm hoping to read this one actually this month, hopefully next week. So we'll see if that happens. Mother Thing I've heard about recently. This one I think is about a woman who is like being haunted by her mother-in-law. Um, just kind of generally speaking, I think that's what it's about. The cover again, stunning. I love this cover. It's actually so cool. Yeah, just I want to read it for the cover alone. It looks so interesting to me. So yeah, that one I might be adding to my TBR. Other than that, nothing else really from this list for me. All right, now in 2021, I haven't read anything from this year. I do have the Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix on my TBR. I have heard from people though that this is not one of his best. I've heard that it's just very like middle of the road, average thriller horror book. Um, so yeah, I'm not pressed to get to it first or like very soon, but I do have a copy, so I will read it eventually. Other than that, I'm not really seeing anything that I have heard that much about. I am recognizing C.J. Tudor. I do have a couple books from this author. Um, The Last House on Needless Street. I think this is maybe a haunted house type of thing. Might be up my alley. I've heard of it, but I don't know much beyond that. So let me know in the comments if there's anything from 2021 here that you think I should definitely be reading. Then if we go to 2020, um, I have read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is a case of a book where I thought it was a thriller, but I guess it is classified as a horror. I really enjoyed it. I think I would say that this is my third favorite Riley Sager. My first being Lock Every Door, then The House Across the Lake, and then Home Before Dark. Uh, so yeah, that one was good. And then I'm currently reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. Like longest title ever, but I'm really enjoying it. And I'm so happy because it is really redeeming Grady Hendrix for me after his most recent release. I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying it just as I was the How to Sell a Haunted House. So I am loving it. I'm about 20% through right now, and it's going very well. Then we have Mexican Gothic, which is on my physical TBR. I don't even really know much about what this is about, but I've heard great things, and I saw a copy at I think it was my library sale. It was like literally 50 cents. So I picked it up. I'm going to give it a shot. Tender as a Flesh. This one is one that I do want to read. I think the premise of it is like there's some kind of a disease or problem where people can no longer eat meat for protein. So they start raising some humans as meat. Um, the premise sounds good, but it does sound like it could go in the very gory direction. If it starts getting really detailed with descriptions, I'm probably going to DNF it because I can already tell that if that gets really detailed, I'm not going to like it. So we will see with that one. And then again, Stephen King, If It Bleeds, on my physical TBR, but I have a lot of books to read before I can get to that one. All right, now we're in 2019. First, I'm seeing The Institute by Stephen King. This one I have read, and it was not one of my favorites, to be honest. I gave it 3 stars. This one, it just felt way too long. It had that sort of Stephen King overly written, waffly type of story, and I don't tend to like those. I like the Stephen King books that I feel like are a lot more succinct and where it feels like the words are more intentional. Like Pet Cemetery, I felt that way. But yeah, The Institute wasn't my favorite. Um, I'm seeing another Jennifer McMahon book, which I'm gonna first try the one that I own physically, The Children on the Hill, and if I enjoy that, I will look more into her backlist. And then the other book on this year that I'm very, very interested in is Intercepts. This one I think is horror about like human experiments, and that sounds so good. I love any kind of thriller or horror or any genre in general that has to do with research or any kind of like experimentation. I just love that trope. But I'm having a bit of a hard time finding this one actually. I haven't been able to find it at any of the libraries that I'm a member of, or I haven't been able to find it through Libby. So I think I might have to purchase this one. We'll see if I can get my hands on a copy. Okay, let's go down to 2018. I suspected that the farther back in time we go, the less I will have read because horror is something I've been more into more recently. So I haven't read any of these books, and I haven't really heard of very many of them. The Outsider I do have a copy of, but again, same sort of situation where I have to read the Bill Hodges trilogy first. Other than that, I'm not seeing anything else I'm really recognizing. I am recognizing I have heard of this author, Darcy Coates, but I have not read anything by her yet. So yeah, not too much going on in 2018. So let's go to 2017. And again, seems to be kind of the same situation. I am seeing Stephen King. This book, Sleeping Beauties, I think is one that he wrote with his son, Owen King. Not super interested. There's definitely ones that I'm more interested in by him. And beyond that, not seeing anything I've heard of at all, actually, in 2017. So let me know in the comments if any of these books you've read or you would recommend. Um, I've not heard of them. All right, now we're on to our last year, which is 2016. Let's see. Okay, so I'm thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. I do have on my physical TBR. Um, this one is a pretty short book, so I would like to get to it pretty soon if I can. Other than that, oh, I'm seeing another Darcy Coates, The Haunting of Ashburn House. I think if I'm gonna try Darcy Coates, I think this one sounds more intriguing to me than the one from the previous year. Again, because this one looks like a haunted house type of story, so I'm definitely gravitating towards this one. Yeah, let me know if you've read Darcy Coates, if you would recommend her as an author. But yeah, that is pretty much the list of the books that Goodreads is suggesting from the last 10 years. Now I think what I'm gonna do is go over to my bookshelves and pull out all of the horror books that I have on my physical TBR and do a bit of an inventory, see what I have, see what I have to choose from, and then kind of will help me in my mind of what I should be looking out for when I go to the library. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so this is one shelf where I have some TBR. Um, First one I'm seeing is this one, The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. Um, Again, not on my immediate TBR, but I would like to get to it. I think I'm going to leave them pulled out a bit so I can reach for them the rest of this month. I think the rest of the books on this shelf are all thrillers. Moving down to the next shelf, this one's a bit in a corner, so it's a little bit hard to film. I think some of these Alex North books could be considered horror. I think they're like serial killer thrillers, but they're also labeled horror on Goodreads. I have 3 Alex North books actually. I didn't realize. I've never read anything by this author, so maybe I should have attempted his books before I bought more, but we're here now. um, yeah, rest of this shelf does not look like any horror. And then we get into my Stephen King shelf. Again, this is the sort of stack of books that I somehow got down a rabbit hole and didn't realize that I had to read 3 books before you can get to these 3. So I'll slowly work my way through them. I am missing one in between here. I think Finders Keepers it's called. But yeah, I'm going to start with Mr. Mercedes and work my way through. I've also got The Shining, which I would like to get to this month. Um, yeah, the rest of them, maybe Carrie. The rest are not for the immediate future. Um, 11/22/63, I really want to read, but it's so long, so probably not this month. Um, yep, no other horror on that shelf. Okay, and then this is another shelf where I keep a lot of TBR. This one, episode 13, this one is on my TBR for this month. So I'm definitely excited to get to this. Again, haunted house story, my favorite. Um, On this shelf, ooh, also this one, The Troop by Nick Cutter. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to read it this month, but that is another horror option. Um, Not seeing anything else horror on this shelf as far as I know. And we have this one, The Butterfly Garden. Yeah, I think this is like a really dark horror book. Has to do with like abduction, I think. So yeah, that's an option. And then down on this very last shelf, Mexican Gothic. Again, we just talked about that. Honestly, I don't even know what this is about. To be honest, I have no clue. But I've just heard a lot of people talking about it. The cover looks really good. So I picked it up at a thrift store. So there's that one. I think that is everything for horror. Oh, I lied. I have one more. The last one is my current read, which is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Longest title ever, but I'm currently reading this one and loving it. So that's the last horror book I own. I also missed this one, The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. I also missed this one, I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. All right, so those are all of the horror books that I have physically on my TBR. So there are definitely quite a few that I want to pick up from my local library. Again, let me know in the comments what are some horror books you would recommend me to check out. I would appreciate any kind of recommendations or suggestions, especially if you are a horror reader. Also, feel free to let me know in the comments what is the best horror book you've read so far in the month of October this month. I know everybody's probably reading a lot of spooky books at this time of year, so let me know in the comments what your favorite has been. Don't forget to subscribe, it would mean a lot to me. Like this video, leave a comment. Always happy to chat with anyone in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in another one very soon. Bye.